Hello, my name is Anna White and welcome to the next video in this series. I hope you found the videos helpful so far. So let's now explore the concepts around philosophy of care for someone who has learning disabilities and dementia. You are now watching video 4, Philosophy of Care. You will remember Dr. Kerr and Dodd, a consultant clinical psychologist, one of the keynote contributors, an author and specialist in this area. And Diana Kerr. Diana is a well-renowned expert on nighttime care and disability and dementia. Quick reminder to remember to get in touch with your local learning disabilities charity or service and ask them to help you or get in touch with us and we will. Okay, this is the winner of the next red rosette, the life story book. So before dementia even starts and while we were working on the baseline assessment being done, we need to make a life story book. This is in effect a photo album with lots and lots of photos that catalogues what was important to that person in their life. Remember also that as dementia progresses, so might the clarity of the vision and field of vision reduce for the person concerned. A person with learning disabilities with dementia may well eventually only be able to see what is directly in front of them. Where that person may be able to see a photo today, which is 6 inches by 4 inches, you may find they will only later be able to see something that's the size of a full A4 page. So be ready to upscale those pictures when needed. Remember, with rollback memory, we need to get photos that are from all phases of the person's life. And when you are putting this photo album together, it might make sense to put it in date order too. A life story book is never finished. It should be continuously updated. Be sure to add dates and captions. For example, a day at Blackpool Beach, Jamie, aged 5, with mother and father, 1965. Be as specific as possible. Have a box of special things that can be handled, which are from a person's past, which may be hugely comforting. Here is a real-life example of how a life book helped George, and this is courtesy of Diana Kerr. George lived in a small community in 1964 and he loved cars. Everything was about cars, car magazines, car photos, toy cars, and if agitated, the way to calm George down was to go for a drive in the car. One day, George was ready to go out as always, and he came out of his care home and he saw the car waiting to take him, the same one that had gone in that he had gone in for years and years, and George froze and said, "No, no, no, get Cameron." They had no idea what he was talking about. Who's Cameron? Was George hallucinating? So the care team could not make head or tail of it and did not wish to distress George further, so in came George and it was decided that they would skip his drive that day. Next day, the same thing happened. George got to the door and this time held the frame of the door for dear life and refused to step beyond the doorway. Now George was described as a mild man, but he would have hit someone if he had been made to step towards that car. He kept shouting, "Get Cameron!" As it happens, the care team were doing a life story picture book with George and putting his life into a photo album. There was great fun for George and all the team, and many of the photos in George's youth and were pre-1964, photos on a horse, in a beautiful house, and lo behold, a picture which had a beautiful car and a chauffeur, and on the back of it, the picture said, "George and Cameron." Remember, George has dementia. Now, George was told as a child never to go with anyone in a car except with Cameron. So actually what we saw was that his behaviour was that of a 10-year-old child, remembering rollback memory, doing the right thing as he had been brought up to do, never to go with strangers anywhere in a car, only ever with Cameron. So who was showing the challenging behaviour? So then, what the care team would do now was, when it was time to go in the car, they would have a photo of Cameron and say to George that Cameron said he could not come that day, but had sent the photo of him to have, and instead Cameron had sent another friend to take him out that day. And George said, "Right," in his lovely Scottish accent, and off he went. Each person is unique in their memories and their life experiences, and we honour and respect that and the contribution they have made to many other lives too. This video will show us how to create that envelope of care and create a philosophy, an underlying principle which includes respect, professionalism, and the ethic that all life is to be cherished at every stage. So here are some pointers. Avoid stress. We all know what happens to us when we're under stress. We become anxious, we get headaches, our muscles tense up, we get angry, and we're less able to do a task. Karen was asked to provide help for a care team for a gentleman we shall name John. John would regularly appear agitated and cry when he came back from his day centre. Karen observed the routine and found that John would be welcomed back from the day centre and then asked in rapid succession to do a list of tasks, namely, to take his coat off, to put his bag away, to put his slippers on, and to come into supper, and to hurry, 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 as the care team would have already put the meal on the table as he walked in the door. Now, John had dementia, so John could remember the part to take his coat off. But what was the next thing? Meanwhile, he was being asked to hurry, hurry, hurry. And then he could not get his coat on the hook and immediately failed at what should have been a failure-free task, and then rushed to take off his shoes and then reminded to put on his slippers, but only got as far as taking the shoes off, and so feeling pressured and rushed would break down into tears. Failure-free tasks and lifestyle is necessary. One needs to adjust activities and meal times to work with the person, not the person work to a timetable that causes them stress. Help them maintain tasks or parts of tasks. However slow it becomes, tasks keep the brain working and the neurons firing. This is very important indeed. Get the physical environment right. Keep changes to a minimum. Try to encourage a routine that suits the person. Keep noise levels down. Maintain hydration and nutrition. Keep communication simple. Instead of a list of 4 things to do, just do one task at a time. Make choices simple. For example, ask, "Would you like to go for a walk or fold laundry?" Never more than 2 things. Fresh air is important, and at least 20 minutes a day in the sunlight is important for the skin. It was uncovered in another study that the average amount of daylight a person with dementia gets in a care home per week is 1 minute. Know that the person experiences pain and administer relief in a timed and monitored way. Do whatever it takes to make life stress-free. Plan both the needs of the present and the future. Be proactive and anticipate, knowing the progression of care and funding that will be needed. Be prepared, and we can achieve happiness, comfort, and secure freedom from pain for those that we're trying to care for. Maintain relationships and family involvement. Remember, life in a care home is not about targets or making life easier for the care team. It's about the quality of life for the person whom we are caring for. Are care teams trained and supported? Life is hard being a carer. We need to recognize and support people through this. Are carers able to access others socially and get support? Do they need some counselling perhaps to cope with the road that they are on? Karen worked with another care team where a gentleman we shall call Alan was showing some challenging behaviour. Alan would be very agitated when his care team would help him to dress in the mornings. Now, many people usually put their underwear on first, their underpants. But actually, Alan would normally put his socks on first. So the challenging behaviour came because Alan got stressed when asked to put on his underpants first. Remember, don't assume. The secret is to understand the habits of the person we are trying to help. Understand the person's routine. It is also especially important that consistency is kept with temporary care staff, and again, this is where good documentation is an absolute must. Ensure you understand their routine and communication style. Get a copy of the Dementia Workbook for staff, where such things can be noted. Care home routines can be setting up a person for stress. For example, rushing a person through breakfast so that they can go on a bus to go to a day centre is not person-centred. Far better that the transport be timed in a way that allows the person to have enough sleep, have a nutritious breakfast, unhurriedly, and that the transport is set up to arrive once this is complete. These needs can be raised with the transport commissioners, who are increasingly more understanding of care and dementia needs. And if they're not, then help them become so, or suggest that they take a look at this website. Think ahead and be prepared. Karen has some more examples that I think will help us think about these points in a more creative way. There was a care home Christmas party. One of the games was set up so that the winner would get a sweet. One of the ladies at the care home had dementia and so was sat by one side watching everyone else for an hour with her carer. Then all of a sudden she got up and snatched a sweet. Not only she, but everyone involved then got upset. She was upset that she could not participate, nor was any activity set up for her to be able to play and participate or to have a sweet. This, of course, could have been anticipated. So celebrate what the person can do and allow them to do all they can to the full in a failure-free way. Celebrate what the person can do. Allow the person to carry out tasks even if they are not doing things properly and as thoroughly as they were doing before. Allow people to continue to make choices, to make them simpler, a choice between one or two things. Don't ask questions. Always agree with the person. Don't argue or contradict. Remember, you are not where they are in their rollback memory. Ask yourself, does it matter? If they want to do one thing in a particular way, does it matter? Ask yourself, what are you trying to achieve and can be achieved in another way that works for the person who has dementia? Enjoy the rollback memory and validate their experience to reduce anxiety. Be with them in their world. Karen talks about care home or family routines. It is important to allow these to change with time. Mealtime routines are a good example, and Karen would often ask care homes or families, why eat at 5 p.m? The response is, well, that is what we've always done and works with the routine of the rest of the family or fellow service users. Yet for the person with dementia, this can be the most noisy and stressful time, and where you will then see challenging behaviour. So why not allow the person with dementia to eat at a quieter time? Karen is often asked about what are age-appropriate activities. There is an example of Sue, who was showing what the care team thought to be challenging behaviour and inappropriate behaviour. She went with her carer to the weekly supermarket trip, and as they were going around the supermarket, she grabbed a huge cuddly bear and was not about to let anyone take it from her.
So in the end, they just bought it for her as she was becoming distressed when they tried to take it away. When Sue got home, and whenever after, when she was resting in a chair, she would cuddle the teddy bear. Sue was 60, and the care team thought it was inappropriate for a woman of 60 to be cuddling a large teddy bear. Not at all, Karen said. If it gives her comfort and joy, then let her enjoy that for as long as she likes. So again, this is not challenging behaviour. This is just for us to validate their experience, to reduce their anxiety and be with them in their world, and so meet the person with their changing needs. Enable the person to maintain their skills with support, to increasingly taking on tasks for the person with dignity and respect. At the early stage of dementia, this will involve reminding the person of the day, time and place, simplifying routines and reducing choices, introducing memory aids such as diaries, timetables, and objects of reference, simplifying communication and using additional cues and prompts to the room environment to help them, such as the signs on doors and red toilet seats. The 3 keys of learning points and that I hope you will take away from this training video are: create a life storybook as soon as you can, and also collect a box of special things from the person's life that may be handled and remembered. Remember to think ahead and be prepared. It's all about providing a quality of life which is not about targets. Ensure you have annotated the person's routine. Use the person's routine and use the Dementia's workbook for staff that I mentioned. Also, a calming environment is wonderfully therapeutic. I hope you have found this course so far helpful. Please sign up for the newsletter if you haven't already. Thank you, and let's move on to the next video.